we've seen a massive growth in institutional activity on-chain, particularly through stablecoins. Citibank is forecast over $4 trillion of stablecoins by 2030 and $4 trillion of tokenization. And what happens when you have stablecoins and you have equities and commodities tokenized on-chain? People need to trade those assets. So we're anticipating there's going to be a massive growth in that market. That's the wave we want to ride, and we're building the infrastructure for that. It's not going to happen overnight. Crypto is really where we're going to start out. That's where we're focusing both on perps and spot. But there will be opportunities that come up, and we're pursuing some at the moment to really like plant the seeds so that we can be the right team at the right time to capture that market share. At its core, the Rise chain is a high-performance EVM. Performance that we've been targeting is 100K TPS, 100,000 transactions per second. Compare that to Ethereum, which is about 14. We have introduced a technology called Shreds, which is where you can get an execution confirmation in about 3 milliseconds.
Congratulations on closing 10 million. Is that right? 10 million of fundraising?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Thank you for that.
Just to give you like a little bit of an overview of DealFlow podcast, like thank you so much for being on here as well. It's a pleasure to have you here, and it's so good to finally catch you as well, because it's been a busy month for you. It's even for me, like catching up with you again, I was like tapping back into it. So I've really followed your journey quite closely for the past month, because I prepared for this Friday for like a whole entire month. But it's really cool. It's kind of perfect, you know. You guys have been up to so much stuff, and it's really exciting what you're doing, especially with like bringing the global financial markets on chain. That's like a massive hot topic at the moment. So is like perp season at the moment, which is also a hot topic. So yeah, there's lots that I want to like chat to you about, and it just so happens to coincide with this DealFlow podcast. So awesome. Yeah, happy to have you here.
Thanks for having us on. I'm excited to dive in, Kira.
Yeah, let's just jump back into where we were. But do you just want to tell everybody exactly what has just happened at Rise?
Yeah, okay. So the news we were chatting about just beforehand was that so Rise is a high performance EVM layer 2, and we made the decision to acquire a team, BSX. They're a really great perps techs on base, and they're bringing their talent and their tech to Rise with the goal, and it's not to really redeploy BSX on Rise. It's not the case. It's really to build the first what we call integrated perps decks and native order book infrastructure. So this is where order book, the actual order book matching engine, the risk engine, settlement, all of that actually happens completely on chain in the EVM. So it's cohabitating with the rest of DeFi. And we've the space is seeing this. The first time it saw it was Ether Delta, and it just flat out wasn't possible at scale, and it still hasn't been possible at scale. And so that's where there was like this beautiful symbiotic relationship that the BSX team had great tech, and we had the infrastructure to actually support this concept that has been in the minds of a lot of people for a long time. So yeah, we're pretty excited about the acquisition and really this very focused direction.
Absolutely. Well, it kind of makes perfect sense bringing a DEX to the fastest EVM chain, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So do you want to elaborate a little bit more on what Rise actually is?
Yeah, totally. So at its core, the Rise chain is a high-performance EVM. We've got a testnet that's been live since earlier in the year, and the performance that we've been targeting is 100K TPS, 100,000 transactions per second. Compare that to Ethereum, which is about 14. And we also, another like really specific innovation is the latency. So we have introduced a technology called Shreds, which is where you can get an execution confirmation in about 3 milliseconds. 3 milliseconds is so fast that it's kind of irrelevant for a real user that's clicking a button. But what that means is that we've really bridged the gap between cloud tech, like modern web technology, and blockchain technology. So you send a transaction, you get a confirmation, and you get a response straight away. So that provides two things. One, you get a super polished UX. So you click a button, you get a response. And the other thing is that it really unlocks some new use cases, and a key use case is order books. And so that's the tech side of things. That's the infrastructure. That's what people know and love about Rise. But what we've really announced this week is really what I think makes Rise the most special. And that comes down to what we're trying to do. And that is, we intend to commoditize blockspace. We don't see blockspace as our product, and that's fairly unique in chains. So we're not selling blockspace to users. We are selling economic activity on the chain, and we're doing that through liquidity. So by having a natively integrated order book DEX, be it spot and perps, we're able to generate revenue through that means and then subsidize the rest of the chain. And while solving for problems like spam prevention and that kind of thing, that's like things we need to tackle. But really, we've flipped the business model, and that's put us in a position where we can actually offer abundant block space to users, which I'm really excited about.
That's really interesting. That's what you guys are doing. And is this sort of coincide of how you guys are able to offer zero gas fees on this new Rise DEX? Is that right?
Yeah, totally. So on this DEX, so if you're building what we call like a SEX grade DEX, a centralized exchange grade DEX, I think it is just completely table stakes to abstract gas. If you're a market maker, if you're a user, if you need to pay gas on that perp DEX, you're already behind the rest of the competition. Like if you're trading on lighter hyperliquid, you're not seeing gas, you're not seeing MetaMask pop-ups. So completely table stakes. We are different to the hyperliquid or lighters of the world because we are fully on chain. So it is at the end of the day an EVM transaction. So people would expect there to be a gas cost, but we are going to completely subsidize that for users.
Interesting. So do you want to elaborate a little bit more on, so you guys are an L2, or Rise is an L2 that's built on Ethereum. So is this an indication that you're betting on Ethereum to be the layer of settlement for the future? Or like, why did you go with building an L2 or not your own L1?
Yeah, totally. Building on Ethereum was flat out the most obvious choice. Building like what we're trying to do is quite ambitious, and so we want to limit the scope as much as possible. And by building an L2, we're able to do that. Consensus is very hard. Consensus at 3 milliseconds is extremely hard, and we had no intent on trying to solve for that. And then, so the fact is, with an L2, you can build very specialized hardware and infrastructure. You can, as a team, obsess over a particular vertical like we are on DeFi and order books, while still benefiting from leveraging the security of the most secure chain in the world. So it was an easy decision.
That's really interesting. So, and I want you to dive a little bit deeper into, there's a thing that you're talking about. So you're saying that at Rise, you've got your Trojan horse, which is going into the DeFi DEX market space, right? And to go a little bit further, like what is it going to mean to be bringing capital that's in crypto finance world into traditional financial worlds? That's sort of what the DEX is going to enable people to do, right?
That's the dream. That's the vision, what the future we're building for. So we've seen a massive growth in institutional activity on chain, particularly through stablecoins. Citibank is forecast over $4 trillion of stablecoins by 2030 and $4 trillion of tokenization by 2030. And what happens when you have stablecoins and you have equities and commodities tokenized on chain? People need to trade those assets. So we're anticipating there's going to be massive growth in that market. That's the wave we want to ride, and we're building the infrastructure for that. This isn't it's not gonna happen overnight. Crypto is really where we're going to start out. That's where we're focusing both on perps and spot. But there will be opportunities that come up, and we're pursuing some at the moment to really like plant the seeds so that we can be the right team at the right time to capture that market share.
Interesting. So Rise is still open for new apps to be building out the Rise ecosystem, and this new DEX is just like one avenue or one application that will support the ecosystem.
Totally. We see this as our thesis is that every great chain starts with one great app. And we see RiseX, our Perps DEX, as that great app, as the economic powerhouse. We saw this with GMX on Hyperliquid, Pump Fund on Solana, GMX on Arbitrum, Pump Fund on Solana, and then obviously Hypercore for Hyper EVM. That's the lens we look at through, and we look through it. And what's particularly interesting about a Perps DEX is there's really two reasons people come to chains today. People migrate. Like it takes there's some effort in moving your funds from one chain to the other. The two primary reasons are for speculation and for yield. And the great thing about Perps is that they offer both that. So we have with RiseX, we have our own internal market maker and an LP vault. This LP vault should perform quite well relative to the risk-free rate of yields on the market. So by offering speculation on the perp side and then yield to really fuel the DeFi ecosystem. So given it's all on the one chain, it's all synchronously composable. On day one, say we have our RLP vault is outputting a healthy return on the yield. Our users can then deposit that in collateral on the lending market and borrow against that and potentially even loop, or we can. I won't say too much more because I don't know what I can say on the specifics and who's going to get involved, but it's going to get pretty interesting with the DeFi money Legos. That's really where I started out my career in crypto and DeFi money Legos, building vault products. And I really see this as like the opportunity for DeFi 3.0, that building money Legos on top of order books is going to get really interesting.
That is super interesting. I want to ask you a big question. How do we know that we can trust your market makers? Because that is a sticky subject.
Market making is hard. We're going to be quite conservative about our rollout. This takes time. We're not going to be doing $1 billion of volume on day one. And we will be quite cautious about the assets we list. When what you'll see is that and I think specifically for market makers, I would look at HLP and LLP, so Lighter's market maker, as like the two key references. It's fully transparent. Like the term market maker has a bit of a bad name, and Wintermute cops anything that comes their way because everyone knows who Wintermute is. But the protocol market makers, every single trade is completely transparent. You don't have to trust a black box. So I think reasonably, it comes down to how well these particular market makers handle extreme circumstances. So when there is a big market move, big liquidation events, kind of like you just need to build up your Lindy in the market maker. Hyperliquid's obviously the leader there, and Lighter's actually performed pretty well, even after the biggest liquidation event on 10/10 in crypto's history. That's why I think you should trust our market maker.
That is very compelling. And I want to ask some more compelling evidence from you. So if somebody was not a crypto native person, they don't really know or aren't familiar with DEXs, they may just hold like a little bit of Bitcoin in their wallet. Why should they pay attention to Rise and also to this launch of the DEX? It's going to be called RiseX, right?
That's right. Yeah.
RiseX. RiseX.
So why they should pay attention to Rise is honestly, it's a tricky question. I think they should pay attention to RiseX as a product that they'll be able to use. It'll have smooth on-ramps. They won't have any, the UX is going to be super polished. But why they should pay attention to Rise more broadly, really comes down to how we're tackling our ecosystem. So for Rise, we see it as 3 distinct layers. So we've got the EVM layer, which is our core blocks, our block space EVM infrastructure. Then we have what we call our programmable markets layer, and this is like where the order books gravitate with the rest of DeFi, the rest of the DeFi ecosystem. So this is where teams have come on board Rise, and some are public and some will be announcing soon, have built money markets or AMMs, CDPs. So the DeFi primitives that we know and love today. And today we call those DeFi apps, but I think in the future they're going to be referred to as DeFi middleware. I see them as DeFi infrastructure that can power the layer above. And then that brings us to the top layer, which is the application layer. And how we look at this is these are the applications that your grandma could use, that mobile first or web first. You don't have to maintain a MetaMask wallet or your own EOA. It's very much, it's still a non-custodial experience, but using technology like Passkey, really, really great wallet technology. And then these applications will plug into the DeFi middleware layer. So plug into order books, plug into perps, plug into AMM swaps for spot, and yield for a savings account, for instance. And then that app layer, it's really an opportunity to innovate on user experience and then distribution. So the thing is that once you have this like DeFi middleware in place and it's mature and rock solid, it has liquidity, people can build really cool apps in a very short amount of time. Like if someone's got a strong relationship with people on with Instagram influencers, and they're an app builder, and they're like, hey, I reckon I can innovate on the distribution. I'm going to spin up a really interesting Perps app. Let's have a go. They could build that in a few weeks, launch it, and it could do extremely well. So that's it was a long-winded way of saying why they should care. It's because of the apps at the top layer are going to be what they can actually get access to without the massive burdens that we put up with every day.
Yeah, I love that. It's literally creating what you've described as a tech stack that's DeFi, and it's just easy. You don't need to worry about the technical side of it. You can just plug straight into it. So I think it's not only the people that are going to be using these apps, but the people that are going to be innovating these apps. Like you said, it's just unlocked a whole new genre of discovery, because like you said, you're focusing now on the marketing, the distribution, which is like that's usually where a product fails, on the marketing and distribution. And you might have great stack, but nobody knows who you are or what it is or why it delivers,
That's right. And I don't want to claim like we're the first to do this. Like you can do this with Uniswap today on Base. You could, if an app builder was to solve for account abstraction and sponsor the gas for their users, like apps have done this using like Privy, for instance. It's just I think the one thing that's been missing has been fully on-chain order books, because then we can. It's really, once we have fully on-chain order books, then we can compete with the likes of centralized exchanges and ultimately TradFi in the future, and that combined with at a chain level, we're taking this very seriously. We've built the wallet infrastructure that all of our apps can use to make this a really seamless experience. Our business model is completely flipped, so we can do the subsidy for them. So yeah, we're not the first to do it, but it's more like we've moved the pieces into the right place to like make this a reality, is how I see it.
So what's your plan to win market share? Like you're on testnet at the moment, going to mainnet, I'm guessing kind of soon. What is your strategy to let people know that you exist? Other than obviously coming on this podcast, but like what's your strategy to win market share back?
Yeah, look, it's crypto is an attention game. We are going to be focusing on existing users initially, because that's how we're going to build the liquidity and kind of build up the flywheel. And how we're looking at it is we want to attract the right people onto the chain and using the product and really providing the feedback. We're a very product focused team, so we intend to keep things quite small initially. So fairly exclusive, invite only in the early days, and then just iterate, like focus on the product. Really, like I'd much prefer to have 100 people that absolutely love what we're doing than 1,000 people that don't really care. So that's the mindset we're tackling it. We're going to iterate. We're going to iterate, and we're really going to support those people that help us in those very early days. Those like high touch users that can provide the feedback. They're the people where we want to work with the most.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the moment, is there any inkling of when you might be going to test from testnet into mainnet? Do you think there'll like be a change in like the user or the excitement around that? Like people can actually come in and everything's a bit more real than once we've got mainnet live.
Yeah, totally. In testnet, it's very hard to give people something to do that isn't just wasting their time.
Have you got like a point system where you're incentivizing people to come on and try new features in your testnet phase?
We were in our testnet phase. No, we didn't have a point system. We intentionally didn't incentivize testnet. Back when we launched our testnet, it was still very vogue to have an incentivized testnet, but we made the decision not to, because we came to the conclusion that when you do that, you're leading to incentivizing real people to spend time doing a lot of time wasting, essentially, like low value activity for them and for the chain. And so we didn't want to waste people's time, is essentially where we concluded on that. But to answer your question regarding mainnet, it's coming soon in the coming months. So it could be, I can't put a specific date on it yet.
Of course. No, I had to ask the question.
That's right. It's very soon though.
Cool, that's exciting. So very soon we're going to be getting the fastest EVM blockchain. How do you compare to some of the favorites out there? Solana, how are you so different? Are you going to be faster? Is this the new Solana?
I don't think we're the new Solana. I think we're different. Solana's essentially offering a different service, given they're more similar to, say, Monad. It's a decentralized validator set. They put a lot of effort into how decentralized the network is. However, the challenge there is that I'm very much of the opinion that a order book will never scale on a network that has validators decentralized around the world. That's just the reality of physics. You will never get your latency to what you need it to be to run a order book at scale. That's as for performance. Yes, we intend to be faster than Solana. I think that's very achievable. We have a lot of advantages being a centralized L2. And then on the latency front, they could do they do have something called shreds, which reduces their latency quite a bit, but the validator is still hopping around the world. So if you're a market maker and you want consistent latency, you'd essentially need to follow the validator with your machine around the world. And it doesn't work out. Whereas with a centralized system, you can just set up your market maker very, very close to where the sequence is located and get that consistent low latency. It's a contentious topic, but ultimately I'm of the opinion that some geo-centralization is necessary to support order books on chain and to have consistent low latency. We saw that with Hyperliquid. It's a trade-off we're willing to make to deliver the product we want to build.
Interesting. So do you think that in the pipeline there's going to be hardware or infrastructure in the roadmap?
For us?
For Rise? Yeah.
To decentralize our sequencer set, we do plan to, but it will be with geo-centralization in mind. So what I mean by it's decentralizing with geo-centralization, what I mean by that is that we will have decentralized validators, so permissionless rotating validators. However, they will all need to be located within a similar region. So there'll be essentially a lighthouse node that tests the ping for each of them. And if they fail the ping criteria, then they'll be dropped from the rotation. That's the direction we're going. But for mainnet, we won't have that. That will come down the line.
Okay. And another one I want to ask. So Rise is claiming to be infinitely scalable. Is this Can you justify that? Like how is this possible? Because it kind of conflicts with a little bit of the trilemma. But are you doing that with the piggyback of Ethereum security behind you?
So we don't claim to be infinitely scalable per se.
Okay.
A slogan we've had is infinite speed, and what we mean, the infinite component of that speed is is the longevity of the system. Where with our decentralization approach, we do intend to build the infrastructure so that it can run permanently and essentially live on as long as Ethereum lives on. So that's where the infinite comes in. Sorry.
No, I love it. So another one I've got for you. I've got so many questions lined up for you because I said it's been a long time, so I've
you're
got
doing
so
well.
many
This is
questions.
rapid fire.
I want to switch it up to fundraising. So I know that you have successfully did a massive community fundraise with a 2.1 million, and before that a VC raise at 8 million. Congratulations on closing 10 million. Is that right? 10 million of fundraising in the last.
That's right. Thank you for that. So we closed our seed round in September last year, led by Finality Capital, and then we raised another round with Galaxy also last year, and then we did a public round this year with Kaido and raised another 2.1. So just a little bit over 10 million in total, which is it's a healthy amount for launching a chain. But yeah, it's I was
gonna say it's a nice amount of runway, but at the moment, exchange fees, there's so much stuff is ridiculous. So you kind of need fundraise a lot of money to get going in this industry. But anyway, any advice to founders out there? Yeah, I was gonna say, any advice to founders out there who are going out to try to get in front of VCs, do the whole entire pitching, the early stage development? Any advice to these guys?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm no expert at fundraising, so I'm hesitant to give advice to people to stray them in the wrong direction if there's anyone listening. But one thing I would say is just actually that's the market's changed so much. Just be aware of where the market is. Also, just spend the time understanding who you're pitching to and what their needs are. I think if you have a generic pitch for every single investor you go to, it's not going to land. So understand what they're looking for, and what's important to them. The other, what else they have in their portco. That I think that helps quite a bit, and just like build a relo. They're particularly for seed, they're investing in you as a person. So don't spend so much time on the refining the pitch so it's absolutely perfect. It's actually more important for you to share with them who you are and who your team is, more so than the specifics, because they know that post seed things are going to change a lot.
Absolutely. The term is pivot that everybody likes to use, but you're totally right that you're at that very early stage of investment. You're investing into the person and a presentation, or maybe a little bit of an MVP, but very often not. So you're really investing in the person, their background, their characteristics, who they are. I think I even saw a YouTube or an interview. It was with Sam Altman or something, and he was saying, the filter that he runs all of the pitches through, is this person going to be like the next Mark Zuckerberg? And he makes that decision up within 5 minutes, So it's looking at the person, and that all builds, I guess, success. So a question back to you. I mean, it's like, I love to ask founders always this, is like, how much do you think that your environment impacts on your success? And do you guys have a remote team, or do you guys have a headquarters? How do you sort of function building the biggest, one of the biggest blockchains in the world when working like this?
So we are mostly remote. We do have people in similar locations. We don't have any satellite offices. So it is very important to make sure the team is super aligned, and like are all on the same page. So spending a lot of time talking through everything. I think we make the we made the decision that it's better to over communicate than under communicate. So I'd be more worried if we had had too little meetings and too many meetings, and just make sure that we're really clear about what the plan is, what everyone's thinking. That's super important. And what you said about surrounding yourself with the right people, I think when you're scaling up a team, really, when you're hiring people, really think about if this is someone that you want to learn from, that you think you can learn from. I think that's super valuable. And just because if you're hiring people that you need to train, then you're not leveraging up at all. So yeah, I would say it is important who you surround yourself with, and I spend a lot of time listening to the Founders podcast. That's so many pearls of wisdom in there. So just constantly level up. I think it's really important.
Of course. So to dive deeper into that, how did you find your two co-founders? So there at Rise, there's you, Sasha, and also Hyde. Is that the combination that we've got going? So how do you guys find each other? What's the background story behind this? And do you guys all have individual roles, or how do you sort of operate together?
Yeah, so it's been a journey. Like the team has grown so much since the early days. So how we met was I met Hai in 2023. Was introduced through a mutual, and a mutual that was Loy Lu, the founder of Kyber. And Loy was like, this guy's a whiz. I think he'd made a great co-founder and a great CTO. And so I'd previously founded a company, so I knew that co-founding with someone is it's like a marriage. And sometimes harder
probably
than marriage.
more important than marriage.
Yeah, that's right. So we spent a lot of time together, really understanding how each other thinks and really ticks. And yeah, I was super impressed by him. And honestly, like in hindsight, I probably should have done more like due diligence of like really understanding Hai and what he was about. So like a part of it is I actually just got lucky that he's an absolute killer. He's one of the clearest thinkers I know. He has the highest standards on the planet. It's like frustratingly so, but also like you need someone to say the annoying thing at the right time. So yeah, that's been awesome. As for Sasha, like we're a very technical team. I'm an engineer by trade. Hai's an engineer, so it was super tech, and we needed someone that had that personal side, that really understood users, understood people. And so it wasn't. I didn't know Sasha prior to Rise, so I actually sought out trying to find someone that really fit that role. And I was fortunate enough to find Sasha. She was the head of growth at Kyber before Rise, and she knew crypto, like the BD world of crypto, a lot better than Hai and I, and that's super important in this industry, is just to know how things move outside of crypto Twitter, and outside, like how to get the right people on your side and helping you build the right thing.
Absolutely. And to find the dynamics between the techie side and the BD marketing side, I think that's why I always see the best teams flourish, because you know exactly what you're good at. You go and do that, you collaborate, you do the conversation, you communicate, and then you go back out and do the same thing. I think that's definitely part of it. So I was going to say, what else have I got? I've got so many. I just had a mind block. I've got so many questions. So, your background, yeah. Why? Like, tell us a little bit about your story. So, software engineer. Is this your first time in an entrepreneurial journey, or have you done this before? Let's know what baby Sam was like.
Yeah. So I've always worked in smaller teams. That was my preference. I'm a bit more of a generalist. So I started out my career in electronics of all things, and then gravitated towards embedded systems and firmware. I worked for a company in Australia that does the eye tracking software in Ford vehicles in the US. So, and make sure you're not falling asleep. So lots of like low level.
What happens if you do? Does the car stop?
Beeps and the seat vibrates. It's actually quite annoying. So
you shouldn't be falling asleep while you're driving, though.
But I think sometimes it's a little sensitive. So if you like glance the other way, it'll annoy you. So if anyone's listening that their Ford yells at them, sorry about that. That's my bad. But yeah, so outside of that, my first dabble in crypto was in 2013. I was introduced to it. I built some Dogecoin. I was probably one of the first cohort of Dogecoin miners back then. I built like a GPU rig while I was at uni. That was a lot of fun. But first, really got serious about crypto at the end of 2017 when I built some arbitrage strategies. So doing HFT, circular arbitrage, and cross exchange arb between Bitfinex and Binance. That kind of kicked off and did relatively well. So I ran that for about 2.5 years. And then a mate of mine was falling down the DeFi rabbit hole. His Twitter account is DGen Robot. And he had this idea that, and we're playing around in Phantom, had this idea that if you deploy to a volatile LP position, so say ETH USDC, but you do it through a lending market, so you're actually shorting the volatile asset, you can set up a near delta neutral position. And so he did the back testing, he ran some numbers, and he realized, oh wow, you can actually like generate some really solid yield. And the interesting thing was that back then there was like it was real yield, so we were generating a yield of trading fees. So we're like, look, let's build this into a vault. We taught ourselves Solidity, launched a vault product called Robo Vault, and yeah, it within a few months it attracted like 10 million in TVL deposits. It was printing 100% APY, and we were like, oh wow, this is wild. So we started taking it a bit seriously. We launched a V2.
Is it still going?
No, we had to wrap it up. So, which is actually an interesting point, because that's wrapping it up is really what motivated me to build Rise. So, one of the key things about this strategy, and sorry, I'm nostalgic about it, so apologies.
No, I love the story. It's good. I'm getting into it.
So there was like an exploit risk as well in there that I learned some lessons. I didn't lose any money, but like there was a vulnerability that scared the shit out of me. But let's fast forward to January 2023. So the yields is kind of compressed in the market after the 2022 blow up. We hadn't launched a token, so it was purely real yield for the life of this product. But we had a challenge so with this particular strategy, anytime the market would move, you'd have to land a rebalance transaction. And if you didn't land it fast, the vault would have some drawdowns up to like 2 or 3%. So we essentially just had to bid super aggressively to land our transactions. And what we found was that some days we were spending up to 10K in gas just to land these rebalance transactions on a handful of strategies. And even when we're spending 10K, we were, and this was not on Ethereum, this was on Phantom and Avalanche. So the fast chains. So spending 10K, it was still taking like 5 minutes to land a transaction, just because like the RPCs would go down, the network congestion just didn't know how to get through the transactions. It was mayhem. So because of that, essentially we had market fit, but we didn't have product fit. Users loved it. We were generating yields, but the product just couldn't sustain itself because the infrastructure wasn't quality enough. And so yeah, that's what motivated me to build Rise. I really wanted to bridge the gap between what I saw in CeFi land building HFT strategies and what I experienced in the trenches as an app builder.
That's so fitting. It's literally the point that, there was a problem and you got to the point where it frustrated you so much that you're like, if this, I'm going to go fix this. And then you have, that was my next question. It's like, why did you actually choose to build a blockchain, not an app, or not, run GPUs? Like, why was it specifically blockchain, but you were solving your own problem, right?
Yeah, totally. I was super frustrated. Wrapping up RoboVault was like wrapping up my baby. So yeah, I set out to bridge that gap, and then I spent some time looking into it, and I was confident that it's something that we could solve.
That's perfect. It's got true product market fit for a single niche. Because I keep telling people this is like, fix one specific problem, focus on that problem, have one person or one buyer in mind. You're like constantly running every single decision, every single question, like, is this what that person wants? Yes, no, yes, no. And you can kind of like build out a very specific product, solving one very simple problem. And it's usually many people's problems, and that's when the marketing and distribution comes into it. It's like, hey, we've built this, we've solved this, and now tell everybody about it, kind of is the flywheel, right?
Yeah, I totally agree, and honestly, that's informed our direction with focusing heavily on order books. That was the obvious direction for us to find product market fit. The infrastructure was built with order books in mind, so there's no point in beating around the bush and trying to build a product for everyone. Let's really just like zero in and obsess over this particular vertical.
Do you think that your DEX app that you're launching on Rise has the potential to become like a Robinhood of crypto, but bridging traditional finance so people can buy Tesla stocks with crypto, and vice versa, like fiat US dollars, buy some Bitcoin or Solana or whatever you might want, some Rise? You know what I mean?
It's a massive journey to get there. Like the getting to that broad user base is not going to be easy. But yeah, that's why we're building this. That's where we want to go.
That's very exciting. So where is your focus sitting at the moment? Are you still on, how do you split your focus between Rise, building a blockchain, and now your Trojan app, RiseX, the DeFi application?
Yeah, so they're a lot more like intertwined than you would think. So
Okay.
When I was talking about the layers earlier, there's like the Rise EVM, which is purely infrastructure. Then we have in the like DeFi middleware, we have what we call Rise Market Core, which is our core order book infrastructure, and then RiseX is essentially built on top of that. So there's not like a super clear delineation, particularly on the infrastructure front. Like how the order book interacts with the infrastructure is extremely important. We need to get that milliseconds down. Need to make it super robust and really, really efficient. So yeah, it's not. It's hard to draw a line. That the teams have integrated quite well. But so that's on the product side. Then a lot of my focus is really on the ecosystem. So working with the builders that are building apps on Rise, and doing what we can to support them. There's a lot of like great builders having a solid crack and building some really cool apps. So we spend the resources that we have to help them as much as we can.
So what are people building on Rise at the moment?
So we've got a few cool things. So there's a team that's, one thing I'm particularly excited about is the team that's building what we were talking about earlier is like an app that your grandma can use.
So we need more of those, please.
That's right. So seamless onboarding experience, interesting distribution innovation, mobile first, really, really like solid app. So that I'm pretty excited about. I consider that as our pilot of this like app layer thesis. Then, so outside of that, we're just very focused on the DeFi primitives and like going deep on these. So rather than like going broad and having like 5 apps in every vertical, it's really like we've got a select a handful of apps that we're really working out that they've got the right LP, they're going to have enough LP on day one, that they've got the right commitments, that their model for incentives is going to be all right, and that it's in a sustainable manner, and that their distribution and go to market like has legs, and that it's actually gonna check out. So yeah, very focused on DeFi primitives on that regard. It's kind of like a phased approach. So we'll launch with RiseX, DeFi primitives, interesting yield opportunities. Like we've got a team that's launching the first fully on-chain credit default swap and Ethereum hedge. It's this like CDP like product that's really, really interesting. So yeah, that's the summary. So lending markets, AMMs, CDPs, stablecoins, and then order books, perps, that kind of thing.
How important do you think it is to be chasing narratives as an app builder? So you just mentioned a lot of DeFi apps, and there's a lot of talk in the space at the moment that we're on the perp summer or perp season, whatever you want to call it. They'll probably come up with another silly name. But and I found when I'm talking with founders, they're constantly chasing a narrative. So you've mentioned a lot of DeFi stuff there. Are you doubling down on these narratives and think that's where actually blockchain has proper product market fit, and we've finally got the apps that are solving these problems? Is that why you're bullish on that, or what do you think?
Honestly, I contend with the crypto and how to handle narratives. Like it is necessary. Like narratives are a way to communicate ideas. But is the substance behind the ideas can often be somewhat opaque. That's the tricky part of it. We're very we try and look at things through first principles. We actually have a list of what we call our ecosystem principles. And so when you're making decisions about what direction you want to take, or if you want to work with this team or this project, how do you make the decision? Do we work with them? What do we pursue? There's a lot of very important decisions to make. And over the time of Rise, while making these decisions, we realized there was a lot of similarities in these decisions, and that we kept pointing back to these same core principles that helped inform these decisions. So we've started to map these out. And one of them is for instance, beware of vanity metrics. That they're the poisonous fruit of an ecosystem. So there's for instance, we could work with a particular product that will bring a lot of TVL, but it's going to cost a lot of incentives or a lot of tokens, and that there might not be a clear way for that to become a sticky product. Or it could just disappear from the chain as soon as the incentives dry up, which we've seen time and time again. So things like that, we really we want to follow the revenue, follow the user distribution, really make a judgment on whether or not this is going to be viable. Less on the narratives. I think if you focus too much on the narratives, you forget that part of it, where there's genuine long-term opportunity.
Speaking of a hot narrative, AI, obviously very hot at the moment. How are you using AI in your daily life and also integrating it, I guess, through into work operations and what you're doing there at Rise?
Okay, I thought you were going to ask me about AI projects on crypto, and I've got nothing to add to that conversation, unfortunately. But as for using AI, I'm confident in saying that it's probably improved our productivity as a team by at least 30%, I would say. Just the kind of things that an individual contributor can do now is quite impressive. If you have particularly with something like Claude Code, if you have a little bit of coding experience, you have an endpoint that has some data in it, and you want to build a dashboard. Literally, just say, "Can you build me a dashboard? Here's the endpoint."
I know,
analyze
it's
the data,
amazing,
and creates
right?
a dashboard for you. That kind of thing would have taken a week or maybe two of an engineer to build that out. So much so that you wouldn't have done it. So you wouldn't have seen that those insights that you now can see. So yeah, that's one way, is data analysis. We use things like Fireflies to help with operations and help with sharing information among the team. Writing notes can be burdensome when you're remote and having a lot of meetings. They're probably the two biggest. Writing code, it varies for the team. If you're building applications, so front end applications, you can use it a little bit more. But if you're building infrastructure, where performance is super important, AI is not as useful because at the moment it just writes very verbose, pretty sloppy code. So if it's low risk software, then totally fine. If it's high risk software, then we generally avoid it. We'll use it for reviews, but we won't use it for actually writing the code.
Of course. And so then if you're putting, say, some of your code into a AI for review, are you holding all that locally, or are you trusting somebody in the cloud with that?
Well, with code, we run that in the cloud because it's already on GitHub. So we're already trusting.
Okay, it's already all open source anyway. Of course, doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's right. But for something like we've got a lot of private information in Notion. Notion has an AI service. I feel uncomfortable about that, but it is too valuable to us not to use. Is the situation we're in, that we can't not use it. We'd fall behind if we didn't use AI tools. So yeah, honestly, it's a dilemma that keeps me up at night. I don't know where to go with this.
I think so too. That's why I asked the question. It's always interesting around data privacy and AI, and because data is the ingredient for AI, right? So, and who owns that and where is that stored? I mean, it's a massive topic at the moment, and obviously people are starting to use AI in their work environments and also in their private environments as well. So allowing people to understand what they're actually putting into these models, I think that level isn't quite there yet. People don't realize.
I think there's bound to be a wake-up call coming, I suspect. Like there's going to be a data breach where people discover that information was leaked into AI models that they didn't realize was leaked. And honestly, I think that's the only way that anything changes, rather than, like, people don't make good preemptive decisions. It's always after the fact of events like that.
Cool. Well, speaking of that, I want to ask you, is there anything that you personally have had to go up as a founder? You're always traveling, it says in your Telegram, always traveling, and obviously building a massive business in the tech industry. How do you, do it?
Yeah. So the question is, what do I sacrifice as a founder? Yeah. Look, I think founders know what they're getting into, and like, it's a deep question. Like I had a baby 3 months ago, and like I can already see sacrifices in that. Like in your personal life, it's like you do miss out on things. But I honestly, like, it's like a challenge. It's like with being a founder, you've got to work out operations so that you can make sure that you're spending your time on the most important thing and you're leveraging the right resources to make sure stuff gets done and you're not a bottleneck. And I think you've just got to do the same thing with those sacrifices as well. Just build it in a manner where you do find that balance, and just be realistic that like a healthy balance doesn't really exist as a founder, is kind of where I've settled.
Exactly. But if you can build systems around the crazy, chaotic life and make sure you integrate family or baby, or also congratulations on your newborn. That's very exciting for you.
Thank you.
But if you can sort of engineer a system around making it work, and making sure that you cover all of the things that you need to fulfill, I think, yeah, you can sort of stay a little bit level-headed. But how do you stay level-headed? Do you, how do you have me time? Do you like go to the gym? Do you like go for a run, or?
Yeah, I feel like how I like to think about it is your brain is like a machine that needs servicing. And if you don't service it, it's not going to run as effectively. And so, yeah, I gym and running are my two mechanisms of servicing the brain. And honestly, I do believe that by doing these, like servicing the brain, you do have better output and perform better long term. The short term bias will always be to like deprioritize and get it done, but medium to long term, definitely much better. So yeah, long story short, gym and running.
And what else do you feed your mind with it? You're saying if you have to feed, is it like, do you do other things like meditation, or do you, like, I don't know, hot bath or sauna or whatever it is? Like all of these, there's a lot of biohacking things that founders are doing nowadays. So are you amongst all of these biohacking things?
Yeah, look, I've dabbled, but nothing consistent. That's like become a core part of my lifestyle. I have an event in my calendar that's been there for about 2 years, a 15-minute meditation that I've done probably 10 times in the 2 years. So, yeah, yes, and mostly no.
I feel you on that. I've also done things like that occasionally, but I think building the consistency and finding the time, and things do tend to slip. You can't do everything. And as a founder, you're wearing so many different hats, marketing, building ecosystems, doing the tech stuff, being a family man, being social. Like, it's just a constant juggling act for founders. So I can really appreciate that opinion. So just to wrap this thing up, I was going to ask you to give a message to your 17-year-old self.
17-year-old self. I would, particularly through a founder lens, the one thing that I've learned through becoming a founder is that a lot more is possible than you realize is possible. So back in 2017, when I was building HFT bots, I didn't even consider that I could have scaled that up and onboarded capital and built out a team. So what I would tell my 17-year-old self would be like, look, it's cliche, but look outside of the box. Like, understand that there are things that are possible that you haven't considered yet. And so like pursue that. Try and find the unknown unknowns that you haven't considered.
That's such a deep mindset to even get into, discovering the unknowns when you don't know what the unknowns are.
That's right. You gotta go on a journey. A lot of I think it's Ray Dalio that talks. I was gonna say, and it's not Ray Dalio, it's someone else that talks about type A and type B personalities. And type B personalities are like the very logical, operations process orientated. They have a habit of not like opening their mind to what could happen. They kind of assume what the outcome would be before doing it. And I think that's something that you need to push against.
Sounds good. Well, I'll go check out my type A, type B personality skills and maybe dive deeper into this. But it's been so good to talk to you and to actually catch you. What you guys are doing there with Rise is super exciting there. At the moment, you mentioned a lot of your focus is also on building out your ecosystem. So where can people find you and also follow along with what's happening with Rise and RiseX?
Yeah, okay. So you can find Rise on Twitter at RiseChain for updates. You can find me at Sam_Battenally on Twitter. And as for Rise and RiseX, for now, like I jump on Twitter. You can hit me up in DMs. I'm happy to chat. Any details if you're a builder looking to build something interesting, order books or very high performant free blockspace gets you interested, definitely hit me up. And then users that want to test out RiseX, want to get involved in the early days, there's a wait list that's live at rise.trade. So go check that out, sign up to the wait list, and hopefully you can get into the early access and mess about.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for everything, Sam. It's been so much fun chatting with you today. And all the best with everything. It's super exciting.
Good stuff. Thanks so much for having me. Catch up. Bye-bye.